Hi guys, we are doing our hand and foot connection flow this evening. So if you grab your like a thin book or I've got a yoga block, if you have one, you can use it to go underneath your pubic bone when we're doing the prone position, because we're starting in prone again today. So if you come and lie on your fronts, so that is prone, yeah. So lay on your fronts, so lay face down and put the block or the book underneath your pubic bone. Okay, so we're just going to start with connection, posture and breath, like we usually do, but we're doing it in prone today. So start with your hands above your head, elbows in line with your ears, and you want your forearms to be in a diamond shape. You want the wrists to be in a neutral position, so middle finger in line with the wrist. And we're just going to start by, we want nice and relaxed legs, so you don't want to be all tense through the quads and the calves and the hamstrings and the glutes. So nice and relaxed into the legs. And then we're just going to start at the pelvis, so we're just going to start tilting the pelvis backwards and forwards. So similar to what we do on the back, so we're just tilting backwards and forwards until you feel like you've got that midpoint between the two end ranges. And it's important that when you're doing that movement, you don't just squeeze the bum to get your pelvis into that more posterior position. You want to use your core muscles, so using your abdominal wall and your breathing to help move the pelvis backwards and forwards, and pause in that midpoint. And when you're in that kind of neutral position, your pubic bone will be pushing down into the floor or down into the block or the book, whichever one you've got underneath the pubic bone. And then you're going to move up to the rib cage. So again, like when you're on your back, you want to think of your rib cage and pelvis like the pages of a book. So we're going to try and bring the ribs and pelvis into connection, because what you don't want is for your rib cage to be pressing into the floor. So if you're feeling your ribs pressing into the floor, you're not in the right position with your rib cage. So you need to try and bring the rib cage into connection with the pubic with the pelvic floor by closing the pages of the book. And then where we want to be feeling connected as well is underneath the medial elbow, and the forearm is going to be pushing down and the hand pushing down into the floor. So we want that full hand connection. So what we don't want are for the hands to be in a clawed position. So they want to be fully connected with the floor. Okay, and then your head is going to be pushing down into the floor as well. So we want a neutral position with the neck. So the forehead is going to be pushing into the floor. So we don't want any neck extension. Okay, so once you've got those points of contact, so we should be feeling it under the pubic bone, under the elbows, under the hands and under the head. Oh, and you'll feel it under your thighs as well. We're going to work on our breath. So we just want to get the breath in the right order first of all. So this is just going to be a little bit more tricky because we can't put the hand on the chest and the tummy. But what you can do if you want, if you make sure that you keep that nice core control, you can put your hands around your waist. Just don't let your lower back fall into extension or your pelvis fall into extension. And we're just going to think about breathing down into our abdomens. So you're going to breathe and feel the tummy press into the floor on the breath in. So breath in, you'll feel the tummy pressing into the floor, and then on the breath out, you'll feel your tummy lift away from the floor. So we're just focusing on our breath at the minute, getting the breath in the right order. So this is where your visualization's really going to have to come in, because you're not going to be able to feel as much if you've not got your hands around your waist, so because we can't put the hand on the chest and the tummy. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, through pursed lips. Imagine you're blowing through a straw. Okay, so once you feel like your breath's in the right order, I would just, if you can, grab around your waist, and we're just going to focus on our 360-degree breath. So we want to feel that expansion the whole way around the abdomen, 360 degrees. So we want to feel it equally from front to back and from side to side. But we're trying to keep that pubic bone pressing into the floor. Don't squeeze the bum cheeks to keep that the pubic bone in the floor. So we're trying to keep that contact by maintaining our core throughout this. So think about that expansion, 360 degrees. On the breath in, and relaxing on the breath out. Okay, so once you've got the breath 360 degrees, you want to work on the brace. And so the brace isn't that clench or tense, you're not pulling the belly button towards the spine, you're creating your 360 degree breath. And before you take your breath out, you're just going to create that outward push, like you're imagining that you're about to fart. And try not to let the muscles completely relax on the breath out. If your neck gets a little bit sore in this position, try not to let it go into extension. So it might be in an extended position, or if you want to, you can just turn your head to one side for a little bit and then turn it to the other side, just while we're working on this breath and the brace. Do a couple more brace breaths. Okay, so put your hands back into the diamond shape if you have your hands around your waist. Make sure your shoulders are active, so we're going to externally rotate and depress the shoulders, so like we're pulling the shoulder blades down towards the back pocket. And what you're going to do is you're just going to extend one of your hips, so your legs lifting up, and at the same time push the opposite hand and forearm down into the floor. And then lower it down. And then you're going to lift the other side, and you're going to push your hand and forearm down into the floor. And then do the other side. And when you're lifting your leg, try not to let your pelvis just tilt forwards or one side push down into the floor. So we're trying to just make this movement coming through the hip. So hip extension, and we're not letting the pelvis tilt forwards, not letting the lumbar spine extend, so keeping that neutral position. Make sure the ribs and pelvis are connected, and you're just extending one hip, pushing into the floor with the opposite hand, and then do the other side. Keep breathing, 360 degrees. Keep alternating sides. So just don't overextend the hip, so we're literally just going as far as we can, keeping the movement coming from the hip. Okay, just do one more each side. And now what we're going to do is go from this prone position into a 3-month prone. So we want that pubic bone pressing into the floor, ribs and pelvis connected, shoulders active, so externally rotate and depress, forearms pushing down into the floor, and then you're just going to lift yourself up off the floor by pushing the forearms and hands down into the floor. So you're lifting your chest and your head up. But what you don't want to do is just fall into lumbar extension and anterior tilt. So we're keeping the pelvis in a neutral position. So this movement, we want to try and get the movement, so you're pushing up with the shoulders, and we want to try and extend through the upper back. So we're trying to lengthen through the upper back, similarly like we do in the low quadruped position or quadruped. So we want to try and think about the chest bone. Imagine it's got an imaginary piece of string and it's trying to pull the chest bone and the upper back down towards the floor. So we're extending through the upper back and keeping that neutral pelvis and neutral lower back. And I can start to feel this in the back of my shoulders. If you can't hold it for too long because you're starting to lose your position, just lower yourself back down. Make sure you've got your good position again, so you're activating through the shoulders. Pubic bone pressing into the floor, ribs and pelvis connected. And then just lift up again. Spread the fingers wide, so we want that full connection with the hand. And try and lengthen through the spine, so we're extending through the upper back. Don't let your neck just go into neck extension, so we're keeping long through the neck as well. And keep focusing on your breath. Keep the ribs and pelvis connected, so you're not just letting the ribs flare and going into lumbar extension. We're keeping that nice and connected. And just in your own time, just like lifting and lowering, just when you need to have a rest, just lower back down. And then come back up again. And lengthen through the upper back. And lower back down. And then bring your hands into your sides. Make sure you've got your neutral pelvis. Make sure you've got your ribs and pelvis connected. Make sure you've got the length through the upper back. And we're just going to push ourselves up into a 6-month prone. And we want to make sure that as we come up, don't just extend the lower back. So we want to keep this solid through here. So create your 360 breath, perfect. And then slowly lower back down. Keeping that neutral pelvis and neutral lower back. Make sure that the hands are fully connected with the floor. Create your breath again, create your brace, and then push up. Don't let the hands claw as you're doing it. So the hands want to stay completely pushing down into the floor, and then just in your own time, just lower back down. Create your breath and your brace, and then lift. If you are struggling to lift and lower, just hold yourself in this 6-month prone position. And we're holding with a neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, and trying to lengthen through the upper back. And focusing on your breath. Keep thinking about those hands, don't let them lift as you're pushing yourself up or lowering yourself down. Keep that nice connection. And then just do one more. And then you're going to come into your quadruped position. So now hands are underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and we're going to tilt the pelvis backwards and forwards, find your neutral, lengthen through the upper back, and then we're just going to hinge the hip backwards. So we're taking the bum backwards and we're keeping the hands fully connected with the floor. And then extend out of that position. So keeping control of the pelvis and lower back. So as we come backwards, you don't want to tilt under. As you come forwards, you don't want to extend. So nice and controlled. Forwards and backwards. And then if you just take one hand away, and you're just going to be pushing down into one hand as you're coming backwards and forwards. So this hand here can just be a free hand, kind of do whatever it wants. But remember to keep control of your pelvis. Keep that hand pressing down. And then swap hands and do the other side. Just do a couple more of those. And then if you just come into your quadruped again, and we're just going to play with the weight between our left and right hand and left and right knee. So you're just going to shift the weight into your right hand and your left knee, and then you're going to shift the weight into your left hand and your right knee. Right hand, left knee, left hand, right knee. And you'll feel those connections as you're between the left and right side and right and left as you're doing it. And then what I want you to start to do is when your weight is shifting into the left hand, right knee, you're just going to move your left knee and right hand forwards. And then you're going to shift the weight into the right hand and the left knee and take the left hand and the right knee forwards. And then keep the weight into the right hand and left knee and bring the left hand and right knee backwards. So we're just doing 2 steps forwards, 2 steps backwards. And we're keeping that hand fully connected with the floor as you're moving, and we want that connection between the left and right side because it keeps us nice and straight as we're going. So what we don't want to do is be just kind of wobbling all over the place as we're moving. So if we push down, so right hand, left knee, that keeps us nice and steady. Left hand, right knee keeps us steady. And forwards and backwards. The body doesn't want to be moving anywhere. Keep focusing on your breath. Keep pushing the floor away with your hands as well, so really try not to let your shoulders start to wing, so your scapula winging, so we're just keeping those shoulders nice and active. Nice control of the pelvis and the lower back. Lovely. Okay, so then, I'll take this way again. We are going to go into our bear. So I want you to curl your back feet under, or curl your feet under, so they're both back. Keep the hands nice and connected, shoulders active, push the floor away. Imagine you lengthening the distance between your wrists and your shoulders. You've got your neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, and lift the knees off the floor. And then what you're going to do now, you're going to do some shoulder taps. So you're going to need to press the floor with, like if you're moving the right hand, press the floor with the left hand and the right foot, and you're just going to tap the opposite shoulder. And then you're going to do the other side. So I'll show you. So tap one shoulder, tap the other. Tap one shoulder, tap the other. Keep working on your breath. Keep lengthening through the upper back. Don't let the neck extend, so tuck the chin in. Lengthen through the neck. If you need a little break, just lower yourself down. Make sure every time you place your hand on the floor, you're getting that full contact. Okay, just lower yourself back down. Then we're going to go into a bear, and then walk back into a squat, and then walk back into a bear. So find your neutral, feet under, upper back nice and long, lift the knees off the floor, and you're going to hinge. Keep pushing the hands into the floor, and then you're just going to walk your hands backwards into your squat, and then walk your hands forwards. Every time you touch the floor with your hand, you want to make sure you've got that full connection. Then walk your hands backwards again. And walk forwards. Make sure you've got your good neutral position, upper back nice and long. Walk your hands backwards. And then just do one more, so you're walking out. And walk backwards. Into your squat. And then stand. With your squat now, make sure you've got that real good sort of tripod contact with the floor. So we want to be feeling it underneath the heel. We want to feel it under the outside of the foot, but also the inside. So the big toe is going to want to push down into the floor. Make sure the toes don't curl under though. So the big toes press into the floor, and then slowly lower into your squat. Keep the big toe pressing into the floor, and then slowly come out. Keep in control of what's happening here as we go up and down. Lengthening through the upper back. And come up. Keep that connection. Make sure as well, as you're going down, We don't want to shift the weight from side to side, so we want to keep nice and central. And up, and just go up and down in your own time. Just do a couple more. And then walk your hands back out into your bear. Make sure your hands are nice and connected, and then you're just going to rotate your body around into your high oblique sit. So one leg in front of the other, and then lift and go around, and then go to the opposite side. So we want to make sure that we have our Lego body, shoulders, pelvis moving at the same time. Make sure you've got a really nice long straight spine as well, so you're not just bananaed. So side to side. Just do a couple more. And then into this high oblique sit. Take your legs straight, one leg in front of the other, and then pushing the floor away with that supporting hand. Lift your pelvis or your bum off the floor into your side plank, and make sure that hand is fully connected with the floor. And we're just going to hold for a few seconds because this is a tough one. Five, four, three, two, one, down. Okay, bring your legs into your mermaid, lower down into low oblique sit, and then down to your side and into 3-month supine. Make sure we've got our neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, shoulders active, feet higher than the knees, knees over the hips, hips in external rotation and abduction. Focusing on our breath. Make sure the neck's not going into extension. So nice long through the spine. And just do some toe taps. Focusing on your breath. Make sure your neck's nice and straight as well. I just noticed mine was a little bit off to one side, so just got it in the middle. And then if you want, you can do some double toe taps. We're just keeping control of the pelvis and of the lower back so that that doesn't tilt, doesn't extend as you're lifting and lowering. And then just lower your feet to the floor. And we're just going to make sure we've got our good position, good connection. Neutral pelvis, neutral lower back, ribs and pelvis connected. Focus on the breath, and then just think about the big toes pressing into the floor. So knees up to the ceiling, and we've got that 3 points of connection, so heel, outer foot and that inner foot. So big toe pressing into the floor, thinking about making that foot a bit smaller, so you'll feel that like that inner arch is starting to lift. You might feel the muscles starting to cramp. Focusing on your breath. Just hold that position with your big toes pressing into the floor. Okay, so now we're going to create our 360 breath again and our brace, and lift both legs up into the air into your 3-month supine, and then we're just going to roll onto the opposite side into your lower oblique sit, up into your high oblique sit, legs straight again, and we're just going to lift up into our side plank, and we're just going to hold that position. Keep that hand fully connected. Make sure your spine's not wonky, so we're nice and straight. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come down. I'm going to turn around. And we're going to go into our tripod from this position. So hand touching the floor, fully contacted. You're going to lift your bum, bring that leg round into your tripod. And then bring that leg back and lower down. So just lifting and lowering into your tripod and back down into your high oblique sit. And keeping that full connection across the whole of the hand. And then come round into your tripod. Keep that hand on the floor. Rotate your other hand up to the ceiling. Curl your back foot under. And then lift the knee off the floor. And you're just going to hold this position. Think about your foot and your hand now. So big toe pressing into the floor, that full hand connection. Don't let your hand claw. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Then bring that leg back into your oblique sit. Rotate your knees around to the opposite side. And then you're going to do the same. So we're going to do high oblique sit to tripod. So round and back. Round and back. And when you come into your tripod, try and make sure that your spine is nice and straight and you're not rounded through your upper back. Do one more lift into your tripod, and then you are going to keep the hand on the floor, keep the foot on the floor, big toe pressing into the floor, hand fully connected, arm up to the ceiling, opposite arm, curl the back foot under and lift your bum or lift your knee off the floor. And just hold that position. Five, four, three, two, one. And then come down into your high kneeling position. We want nice level pelvis with the floor, neutral spine. Make sure you're not too narrow, foot out to the side. And we're just gonna stay in this position, but thinking about the foot. So that front shin's gonna be vertical, and you're just gonna work on that foot connection. So we want to feel it underneath the heel, underneath the outside of the foot, and underneath the inside. So we're pushing the big toe. Not necessarily the big toe, it's that bony bit of the big toe. We're pushing the bony bit of the big toe down into the floor. I'm thinking about that inner arch lifting up off the floor. So think about the distance between the heel of the foot and that bony bit getting a bit smaller. Okay, and then keeping the pelvis level with the floor, keeping that good foot connection, keeping the knee tracking the second and third toe, curl the back foot under and stand. And then take that leg back and then slowly lower down. So really concentrating on that, keeping that big toe connection with the floor. So just in your own time, lifting and lowering, making sure we control movement of the pelvis. Or control, we don't want any movement of the pelvis, we don't want to shoot to the side. We want to make sure the pelvis stays level with the floor throughout the movement. Ooh, don't fall over like me. Just do a couple more on this side. And then from your high kneel position, you are going to lift up off the floor, switch to the opposite direction and slowly lower down. And lift and opposite way. Lift, opposite way, lift, opposite way, lift, opposite way, and then finish up on the opposite side. And turn and face you. Okay, so high kneel again, not too narrow, side pelvis level with the floor, so scooch it down, neutral pelvis, lower back, so tilt the pelvis backwards and forwards, so you find neutral. And then we're going to just, again, work on the big toe, pressing into the floor. So feeling that contact underneath the heel, underneath the outside of the foot and the inside of the foot, trying to narrow that, or smaller that space between the bony bit and the heel. Focusing on your breath as well. Never forget your breath. Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now now we're going to keep in that big toe pressing into the floor, keep the pelvis level with the floor, knee tracking second and third toe, take the back foot under and stand. And in your own time, lowering and standing. Use your breath, use your brace, control the movement up and down. Let's do a few more. One last one. And then just do a few single legs. So we're gonna make sure our big toe, so we've got that 3 points of connection. So heel, outside of the foot, inside of the foot, big toe pressing into the floor. Create that brace. Lift one of your legs up. So hip to 90, knee to 90, ankle to 90. Keep the big toe pressing into the floor and then slowly down. Swap the sides, so the weight's now going to be that 3 point of connection on the opposite side. And then slowly up and down. And big toe. So keep remembering to that 3 points of connection. We're nearly done now. Keep your balance. And we're trying to control what's happening in the pelvis. So what we don't want is when we're lifting that leg for the pelvis to drop or for you to start rotating. So we're trying to keep nice and front on, level. Just do one more each side. Lost my balance. And then we're done. Right, hope you enjoyed that. I will see you all again soon. Bye bye.